Hello everyone, this is part 3 of What If Naruto Left But Hinata Is Confused, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Naruto lay down in the grass and looked up at the night sky, a smile painted on his face as he watched the twinkling stars above. Can you find any of the constellations, boy? Jiraiya was sitting underneath a tree, a flask in his hand. Naruto struggled to make sense of the sparkling mess that lay out before him. Everything blended together until all he could feel was, not an empty vastness, but an incredible vastness, one full of life and the wisdom of unknown years. Suddenly, the memories he had made over the last 3 years flooded through his mind and a knot formed in his stomach at the prospect of going home. He had grown over the few years he had been gone from Konoha. Not only physically, but mentally as well. He was no longer the same foolish boy who had left, although, he still lingered inside him somewhere. How would people react when he finally came home? Would everything go back to the way it had been, or would people welcome and open their arms to him? I assume from your silence, boy, that you cannot. Jiraiya slurred. Naruto was pulled back to reality from his revelry. He had forgotten what Jiraiya asked him before, so he just lay there in silence staring at the sky and listening to the pervy old sage. Do you see the 2 stars over there? Jiraiya pointed up at the sky. Naruto followed Jiraiya's gaze and spotted 2 brilliant stars surrounded by 3 dimmer lights. They are said to be the most luminous stars in the sky. Combined with the 3 stars that surround them, they form the constellation known as Cassiope. She had once been a mortal woman who was very beautiful, but she became so vain she angered the gods and they punished her by hanging her upside down in the night sky for everyone to appreciate her beauty for all eternity. It is one of my favorite stories, and when I'm out on the road at night, whenever I feel lonely, I look for her eyes. Naruto stared up at the 2 brightest stars as he thought about Jiraiya's story. Why would anyone like that story? And why would he look at the 2 stars when he was lonely? While Naruto gazed at the stars, he could see a face begin to form in his mind. Sakura, he thought. He could clearly see his cherry-haired teammate up in the sky looking down on him, and he quickly felt how much he missed her. His hands began to sweat as he realized it would only be a matter of days before he would finally see her again. As he continued to stare at her image in the night sky, he couldn't help but feel like something wasn't right. Almost as if the starry eyes looking down upon him weren't Sakura's at all. Naruto shook his head and turned over in order to break the trance he had fallen in. There had been something he wanted to ask Jiraiya, something he had been wondering about since the first training session they had together. It's warm tonight, Naruto commented as he took off his shirt. The weather is our friend tonight. Jiraiya absently responded to Naruto's statement. Naruto lay back down and began tracing the mark on his stomach with his finger. He had to ask him now. He may never get another chance to ask again, but the huge man looked far too serene staring up at the night sky, lost in his own thoughts, for Naruto to interrupt him now. He felt a tug of guilt for even contemplating idea. What's the matter, boy? The man's gruff voice LD the silence and startled Naruto once again. What makes you think something's wrong? Naruto responded stubbornly, more out of being shaken up than anything else. You circle the seal on your stomach with your hand. You've done it almost every night since we started training. Jiraiya replied, his attention still on the sky. Naruto flushed a little, he'd noticed. Well, I was just wondering if there was any significance to the words on the seal. You know, light, dark, peace, war, relief. Jiraiya broke his gaze and turned to Naruto. What do you mean? He asked, as he raised one eyebrow. It just seems like they're connected somehow, like there is more to the words than just a sealing jutsu. You a very perceptive boy. Jiraiya grinned at his pupil. The reason these words work as an effective jutsu is their meaning. Long ago, these were the words people lived by. These very words reminded him of life and what it meant to live. The circle represents the cycle and the order in which each word occurs. It will never be broken and will always repeat itself in the same way. The events won't be the same, but light, dark, peace, war and relief will. Naruto listened intently to Jiraiya's words. He still didn't quite understand. Jiraiya wasn't telling him everything. So what do they mean? Naruto pressed. Jiraiya took in a deep breath. He was still the same after all this time, too caught up in finding the answer to care about the history. It's a cycle, Naruto, so it doesn't really have a beginning or an ending. I want you to understand that before I explain anything else. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. You want me to understand that it's a cycle before you move on. Naruto repeated. Jiraiya rolled his eyes. Okay, it's a never-ending cycle, but I have to start somewhere, so we'll start with light and dark. All this means is that a light is always found to lead you through the dark, or you will find a light before you enter the dark. Peace comes before war, or war follows peace, but after war there is always relief, and in relief we find the light. Do you understand, Naruto? Jiraiya eyed his student. I think so, sort of. Naruto scrunched his nose in confusion. Don't worry if you don't. It's a very abstract concept, designed to show people's natures and the nature of their hearts, and you, boy, have only experienced the dark. The rest will come in time. Whenever you encounter the darkness of your heart, or the bloodiness of war, the trick is to remember the light will scare the dark away and relief will always come in the end. Jiraiya adjusted his back against the trunk of the tree he was leaning against and turned his head back to the endless sea above them. Go to sleep, Naruto. You will need your rest. We have a long way to go tomorrow if you want to reach Konoha in the next few days. Naruto looked back up the sky where the two brightest lights of Cassiope shone. He waited for the image of Sakura to return, but she never did. As Naruto thought about the picture of her earlier and attempted to figure out what had been wrong, he suddenly wondered if perhaps Jiraiya had someone he could see up in the sky. Perhaps he had someone he cared about too. Naruto felt the urge to ask, but decided against it. His last conscious thought was of Konoha and the two orbs in the sky. Kiba found Hinata sitting on her favorite bench in the middle of a sea of cherry blossoms. The pink foliage would normally have demanded attention, but instead faded to the background when set against Hinata's creamy white skin and jet black hair. He knew he would find her here. The Hyuga garden was where she went to be alone. He watched her with Akamaru for a few moments, drinking in the scene, before he finally made his way over, taking a sit next to her on the stone bench. Hinata smiled at her friend. He had come to visit her almost every day for the past year and she had grown fond of him. She appreciated the friendship he had given her, especially over the last 3 years. He was the only one who knew just how hard they had been. Have you heard the news? He asked without looking at Hinata. Heard what? Kiba turned his head so that Hinata could see his face now. She thought about how much her friend had changed. He no longer possessed the youthful look of a child. His face was different, harder, more mature. Only his eyes matched the Kiba from their childhood. They still had the same softness, the same tenderness about them, but that softness would dissipate in an instant in battle. Even Akamaru was bigger. He no longer was the small white ball riding around on Kiba's shoulder. Instead, Kiba was the one doing the riding now. Kiba took a deep breath in and shut his eyes. He's back, Hinata. Naruto is back. Hinata's world stopped as her breathing became heavier and her heart began to race. Naruto is back. When Kiba leaned over, clasped his hands together and looked at the ground. He arrived back in the village today. I haven't seen him yet, but I thought you should know. Hinata's hand automatically grabbed the spot over her heart and they sat in silence. Kiba staring at the ground and Hinata taking in the news. It was Kiba who finally broke the silence. Are you going to see him? I don't know. I don't think I can. What would I say? Kiba looked up at his teammate for the first time since he told her the news. Kiba had always felt Hinata's feelings would fade with time, but as he looked at his teammate he could see the terror and excitement she felt at meeting Naruto for the second time. Everything she had done over the past 3 years had been for him. Kiba knew that, but still he thought. It didn't matter what he thought. Kiba petted Akamaru and scratched his ear. Maybe you could start with hi. He suggested distractedly. Hinata gave Kiba a warm smile. I guess you're right, that's what a friend would say. She gently placed her hand on Kiba's arm. Yeah, Kiba responded, that's what a friend would say. Still he couldn't help closing his eyes at her touch. While Kiba lost himself in the moment, He suddenly remembered that he had something else to tell Hinata. Oh yeah, I almost forgot because of the Naruto news, but there has been more Sasuke sightings. Kiba said gruffly. Hinata snapped back to reality and gave Kiba an inquiring look. There have. By who? It seems that the sightings have increased within this last month. There are too many to count now. That's odd, Hinata noted. I wonder why they have increased from one every month to so many. Nobody has caught him, she pressed. No, the sighting have all happened like before, just like when Neji saw him with you. The people are always too injured to go after Sasuke, or they're in some other precarious position. I wonder what he wants. Hinata bit her lip in thought. I don't know, your guess is as good as mine. Kiba shrugged. Hey, do want to train a little today? Kiba knew what her answer would be, but he hoped it would be different anyway. Not today, Kiba. I think I need some time to myself. Hinata gave him a sympathetic look. That's all right, I understand. Kiba's heart lifted a little. Even though it wasn't the answer he wanted, it was better than the one he expected. He stood from the bench and gave Akamaru a nudge. He resisted at first, snuggling closer to Hinata's legs, but Kiba gave him a stern look. Akamaru reluctantly rolled out of his reclining position and followed Kiba out of the garden. Before they completely disappeared from sight, Kiba turned and gave Hinata a small wave. Then they were gone. Hinata sat in the garden a while longer, contemplating everything that had just transpired. She decided that she wasn't ready to see Naruto, not just yet, she wasn't strong enough. At that thought she hastily left the Great Hyuga Garden and made her way to Team 8's training ground. Hinata felt that's where she would find the answers she desperately needed. Naruto's here, in the village. What am I going to do? What should I say? I am not ready for this. I'm not strong enough. Hinata sat under her favorite tree in the middle of the lush green training ground. Her body was slumped over and her hands were wrapped around her knees. She was torn about what to do. The initial excitement that flowed through her at the thought of seeing Naruto again had subsided and was replaced by the 12-year-old girl who could only stand behind the light pole to say goodbye. What if he doesn't even remember me? The only conversation I've ever really had with him was at the training ground before his match with Neji, and even then all I wanted to do was hide behind the wooden training log. Still, I spoke to him and he said he liked people like me. Maybe he will remember, maybe he won't have forgotten me, or, maybe he was just being nice. She felt her two halves fighting for dominance. The one half was overwhelmed with Naruto's homecoming and wanted to run out and find him with no regard for how he may react. The other half, the one that won out most of the time, told her to stay, he wouldn't even notice she was there and she would just be in the way of the rest of the people who wanted to greet him. I've tried so many times before. I've tried to be near him. To speak to him, to be close to him, but whenever I'm around him I just hide. I don't want to be that girl anymore, the girl who can't do anything more than watch. I've tried so hard to change, to make myself stronger, just for this moment, so I would be able to do what I've tried so hard to so many times before, but it's as though nothing has changed. I'm still the same girl, the one who is too weak to be noticed or try to be noticed. Hinata felt a familiar warmth in her lavender eyes, and before long wet spots began appearing on her clothes. As she tucked her head tighter into her arms, she felt a comforting weight. Instinctively her hand went toward her chest, but this time she didn't just let her hand linger above it on the outside of her clothes. She needed to see him, to be with him even if it was only an illusion in her mind. Carefully she pulled the long chain out from under her purple sweater. More and more of the chain began to appear, and then Hinata felt the end catch on the inside of her collar. She gave the chain an extra tug and felt the hotness of the locket as it fell into her palm. Before she did anything else, she meticulously examined every inch of the silver end lace and felt a slight pain tug at her heart. Confused, but determined, Hinata brushed aside the new feeling that had ebbed its way in and swiftly opened the heart in her hand. There they were. The familiar bright blue eyes Hinata had streaked USD so many times, along with the childish grin and crazy blonde hair. Naruto, what should I do? My feelings have become more intense with time, and I don't even know you anymore. All I really know is this face, these eyes, his boyish smile. None of it will be the same now, he'll be different, changed. Hinata stared at the boy whose will to succeed no matter how many times life put him down had inspired her to stand up for herself, even when all odds were against her. Would he still have that sunny, defiant attitude? Would he still possess the characteristics of the boy? Or would time alter his roundish cheeks into the hard, mature lines that had taken over Kiba's? Hinata shifted her gaze to the trees Naruto had come through to take her away in her daydream. She vividly remembered the older version in her mind walking toward and kneeling next to her on the ground. This time, he did not have the same anxious air. Instead, he calmly brushed a strand of her hair back and caressed her cheek with the back of his hand. Hinata allowed herself to relax back into the tree. Slowly, she brought her face up to his and closed her eyes. Crack. Hinata jumped up. Her thoughts quickly discarded. Someone was coming. Quickly back flipped into the tree and allowed the canopy of leaves to cover her. Tentatively she peeked through the tangled branches and leaves to see who it was. She was sure no one would come here, not today. Everybody would be too busy rejoicing in Naruto's and Jiraiya's return. Hinata could hear the faint footsteps of someone coming closer. Gradually they became louder and louder. She peered at the bushes the person would emerge from, impatiently waiting to discover who had interrupted her thoughts. Kiba was the only person who knew where she was, but he wouldn't. Would he? Even after she had told him to leave her alone for a while. He was probably worried about her. He normally was these days. Suddenly a shadow appeared and from the look of it, the person approaching was a man, but it wasn't Kiba. Then a bright orange leg popped through the bushes followed by a black and orange top. The man walked to the middle of the training ground, yawned, stretched and began to go through a series of training exercises. He began by running around the wooden targets, flipping in the air and throwing a handful of kunai knives, each one hitting S center. Next he performed a series of push-ups before running in a zigzag pattern, and throwing kunai every now and again. Hinata watched with bated breath as the man practiced his taijutsu. She was surprised to see just how good he was. He wasn't the best, but he had definitely come a long way since his school days. She continued to watch as the boy cloned himself hundreds of times and observed as each clone strategically hit a mark. Some hid in the ground, others hid in trees, while some were used as a diversion. Hinata could see the heat rising in the man's face as his training progressed and soon he was fumbling with the zipper of his sweater and discarding his undershirt. Hinata felt her cheeks burn as she stared in awe at the half-end man in front of her. His body had a masculine appearance. It was long, lean and chiseled. She could see a distinct black circular mark on his bare abs and the way the muscles spread underneath it. She wanted to take her eyes away, but she couldn't. She was mesmerized by the way his body moved and the intensity of his concentration as he formed a blue swirling mass in his hand. Hinata gasped, then quickly covered her mouth with her hand. I hope he didn't hear me. Please don't hear me. The man paused as his head perked up. Hinata quickly stuck her charm back inside her sweater and tried to be as statuesque as possible. She watched as the guy below began to focus on the whirling sphere in hand. Gently Hinata relaxed and she allowed herself to fall backward into the tree trunk, but she didn't hit the trunk. Instantly her stomach dropped as she turned her head to see what she had hit. Naruto! She cried in horror at the sight of him crouched down beside her. His bare chest inches away from her. Hinata felt her head begin to spin as her body went limp and she fell from the tree. The real Naruto turned around at the noise in time to see the body of a young woman careening to the ground. In one swift leap he was under her and he gently set her down against the bark of the tree. The clone followed right after the girl, and after fetching Naruto's shirt disappeared in a puff. Naruto made himself comfortable across from her and began playing with the green blades of grass. He hadn't gotten a good look of the girl's face as she fell from the tree and he wondered why anyone would be hiding up there. She didn't look like anyone he knew. Her hair was dark, so she couldn't be Sakura or Ino and it fell down to her waist. Ten was the only girl he could think of with black hair, but she always wore hers in two buns. Naruto Street USD the young woman's face. The ebony of her hair set off the light sultry undertones of her skin and her features were soft. He allowed his eyes to methodically wander over the woman's clothing. Her sweater was at least one size too big and he could see her peak frame as the hanging fabric gently pressed against her body. She definitely didn't have the appearance of a ninja. As his eyes continued along their path he spotted the small pack every ninja in the village wore. The pack held their kunais and other weapons. She must be a ninja, then where is her band? Almost like magic his eyes fell upon the Konoha symbol tied around her en. Almost as if she could feel his studious eyes upon her, Hinata began to move. Naruto watched as the girl in front of him began to flutter her eyes as she regained consciousness. A pounding began in his ears, but he was too curious to pay heed to it. As the girl's eyelids opened to reveal the light lavender orbs behind them, Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. What had happened to the short-haired little girl he had left behind 3 years ago? Naruto began to wonder what 3 years had done Sakura. "En Naruto," a soft voice floated to his ears. He smiled his wide smile and grabbed the back of his en with his hands. "Hey Hinata, I didn't think anyone would be here. I'm sorry if I scared you. What were you doing up in that tree?" Hinata flushed and she felt the familiar urge to hide her face, but it was overridden by her overwhelming desire to look at Naruto. His brilliant blue eyes were looking down on her and she could still make out remnants of the boy in his smile. His hair was more wild and unkempt than it had been and 2 strands on either side fell over his headband. She was shocked and amazed at how much and how little he had changed. There was no mistaking the newfound maturity in his strong jawline and cheekbones, but his boyish charm shone through with every smile and glance of his eyes. I had come out here to be alone," she quietly answered. "Oh, is everything okay?" Naruto crinkled his face in concern. "Yes, thank you, I just needed some time for myself, that's all. There has been much excitement today and I needed to breathe for a moment." Hinata began fidgeting her fingers. A gesture that did not go unnoticed by Naruto. He felt the unfamiliar pull of belonging as he watched the endearing habit of Hinata's and for the first time since he had been back, he finally felt like he was home. What about you Naruto? Why are you out here training by yourself? Didn't you just come back from 3 years of training? Naruto absently rubbed the back of his en. Yeah, well I was nervous about coming back home. I wasn't sure if things would be the same, if I would be missed. He mumbled as he looked at the ground. Hinata smiled. No one is the same Naruto. Not even you, but that doesn't mean you aren't missed. Hinata quickly glanced down as she finished the last part. Besides, Sakura is your teammate and your teammates know you better than anyone else. They have your back when you're there and they miss you when you're gone, and you Naruto, have been gone for a long time. Sakura, the person Naruto was most anxious about seeing again. Did Hinata know that he had come out here to build up his nerve to see her, or was it just a coincidence that she brought up her name? She was his teammate after all and Hinata was right, he did need to go find her. By now she would know that he was back in Konoha and if her temper was anything like he remembered, she would be indescribably miffed if he did not find her to let her know he was back. He cringed at the thought of it. You're right Hinata. I shouldn't be out here avoiding my friends, I should be with them, celebrating my return. Naruto stood and helped Hinata off the ground. He hesitated before leaving. He felt awkward leaving her behind after she had been so sweet to him again, but he wanted to go and find Sakura before the day got too late. Hey Hinata, thanks for helping me out, that makes 2 times now. I think that makes us friends. Friends. He thinks we're friends. Hinata's heart began to swell and she gave him a half smile. We should hang out sometime, you know, and do friend things. He suggested. What? Hinata stammered. I don't know, what do you do with your friends? Naruto realized the only things he ever did with his friends were eat ramen and train. Well, Kiba and I go skating at the roller rink sometimes. Naruto freaked out at the thought of him on 4 wheels. He had never been roller skating before and he wasn't sure that he was ready to learn. Hinata quickly picked up on the look in his eyes and came up with a different idea. Sometimes Kiba comes over and we hang out in my garden. It's not much, but we go for walks, look at the flowers and talk. Okay, how about that? Naruto latched onto the idea, figuring it would be non-threatening in any way. Hinata's heart raced. Oh okay, when? How about tomorrow? I'll come by around lunch with ramen. Oh okay. Well I'll see ya tomorrow. Naruto waved and began to walk away. Oh okay. Hinata repeated. Hinata turned around in a daze. It wasn't exactly the way she had planned on seeing Naruto again and she hadn't exactly told him what she wanted to, but still he thought they were friends. Hinata began to saunter back home, caught up in her reverie, when she noticed a large orange object next to the tree she had previously fallen from. She walked over to it and picked it up. Naruto's sweater, he must have forgotten about it. I'll take it home and give it back to him tomorrow. Hinata pulled the bright fabric tightly into her chest and inhaled the intoxicating scent wafting up from it. Happily she made her way home, her head full of what the following day may bring. Now to find Sakura. Naruto hurried back to the village. His confidence had been lifted from his conversation with Hinata and he felt elated. He also felt a little ridiculous for being so unsure of himself earlier. There was one thing that still made him a little uneasy, but he felt that Hinata's advice adhered to that as well. Swiftly Naruto made his way through the familiar streets of Konoha. 1, 2, 3. He counted the streets, reliving his younger days when he used to go to her house. The houses looked the same now as they did then. As Naruto began to near his destination, he remembered the flower shop stood 2 corners down from her. He began looking for it long before he should, but he didn't want to miss it. As he passed by the old ramen shop he frequented often before he left, he saw the familiar floral arrangements that decorated the outside of Ino's family shop. Hopefully the blonde kunoichi would not be working today. He didn't feel like answering any of her questions. He made his way inside and immediately disoriented. There were so many, how did anyone ever choose? He made his way around the store, picking up one flower then another. Sniffing one rose, then comparing it to another. There has to be something here. Naruto was exasperated from his efforts and almost walked out the door in retreat when he stopped. There it was, tucked away in a corner. I'll take it. After purchasing the damned potted plant that had taken more time to choose than he had previously anticipated, Naruto sprinted out the door and down the street. He didn't stop until he reached the door he wanted. Before knocking, Naruto straightened his black shirt, checked his breath and hid the present behind his back. Then he cleared his tea and knocked 3 times. He could see a shadowy figure moving past the candle in the window and his palms began to sweat as he waited for her to come to the door. He didn't have to stand there long before he heard the creaking of the hinges. Suddenly he found himself staring in the same green eyes that had filled his dreams. Naruto, she whispered as she stared back at him. She was taller, and her cherry hair was still short. Her face had matured into a woman's and she had an athletic build. She did not possess a delicate beauty, but she was cute. Her confidence and easy smile made her radiant in the dusk light. Sakura, he replied. I brought you this. Naruto clumsily held out the gift he had picked out for her. A cherry tree. Thank you. She beamed at the plant in her hand. Naruto Street USD the way the cherry blossoms matched her hair. He was excited she liked his gift. Whenever I see a grove of cherry trees I think of you, so I thought I would give you one. That's sweet of you Naruto, would you like to come in? We have so much catching up to do. Sakura opened her door wider and pointed the way inside with the pot. Not tonight Sakura, I only came by tea to ask you to come out with me tomorrow night. I want you to go on a date with me. Naruto braced himself for the punch he knew would follow his request. I'd like that, Sakura replied. You'll what? I'll go, she repeated. Okay then, I pick you up here at about 7ish. He told her excitedly. 7. She repeated and gave him a small smile as she looked at him from under her eyelashes and shut the door. Yes, I've got a date with Sakura. Naruto stuck his hands in his pocket and made his way down the street, toward his apartment. Night was beginning to overtake the dimming light and the Naruto could see the stars up in the sky. He had grown accustomed to stargazing during the long nights he had spent with Jiraiya and instinctively his eyes sought out the 2 eyes of Cassiope. Naruto remembered the night he first looked up those sparkling orbs and the image of Sakura that had appeared, but soon afterwards she had vanished and he could never bring the image back to his mind again. But why? Naruto's eye caught a quick movement to his left and he swiftly shifted his view from the stars to the streets. A dark figure with longer black hair and a red and white symbol on his back slipped around the corner. It can't be, but who else could it be? Naruto ran down the street and into the open space the figure had gone. Naruto looked one direction, then another, making a frantic circle in the dirt, but no one was there. I swear that was him, but where did he go? He stood in the same spot for a few minutes before deciding to finish making his way home. He knew he had seen him, but why was he here? Naruto couldn't push the image from his mind, and that night, As he lay in bed asleep, he dreamed of his old friend. He was trapped in a cave, a fiery beast was upon him, while Sakura's lifeless body lay next to him on the floor. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.